Hello and welcome to the third and final installment of this Introduction to Blender tutorial series. So as I previously stated in the last tutorial, we are going to take the objects that we learned how to add to our scene and that we ended up rendering in this final image here, and we're going to learn how to take these objects and actually learn how to modify, manipulate, and make our own shapes out of them so that we can use them in the second training series that I'm going to start after this video on how to make a video game. Okay, so let's go ahead and close this out, and we're going to go ahead and open up Blender. Alright, so since our default setup brings us up with a cube, we're going to go ahead and learn how to manipulate a cube first. Okay, and so the first thing is something that I haven't actually done yet in this three-part training series. But down here at the bottom where you see object mode, if you click on that, you'll notice you have a bunch of these different options from weight painting, texture painting, vertex painting, sculpt mode, edit mode, and object mode. Okay, well during this tutorial we're going to spend a lot of time in edit mode. Okay, so let's go ahead and click on that. And really quick I'm going to open up this panel and turn on my keys. That way you can see what I'm typing, just like in the last tutorial. Okay, so now that we are in edit mode, which also there is a keyboard shortcut reference to go between object mode and edit mode, and that is the tab key. Okay, so now that we're in here, you'll notice that our cube is already selected, so let's go ahead and press A to deselect that, and then we're going to press 5 for orthographic view, go to front view, and now see, the first thing that we're going to cover is something that a few years ago I was actually getting a lot of questions about, and that was how to do what's called loop cuts. Okay, and it's actually very simple, but in order to do a loop cut, you have to hold down the control button on your keyboard and press R, and then as you can see, nothing has happened. But the reason why is because our mouse isn't close enough to an edge of our object to actually give us anything. So I'm going to go ahead and move it up here, and you'll see that this line appears. Okay. Now if I move over here, it appears horizontally instead. Now the second thing about loop cuts is you don't just have to do one loop cut at a time. You can do 2, 3, 4, or however many that you want. Okay. But we're going to go ahead and start with one. And once you go ahead and left click, you'll notice that it turns to orange, but that we can also move it around. Okay, so now if I want to go ahead and say move it over here, I just left click again and it becomes stationary and it's around the entire object. Okay, now let's undo that and go back to front view, and let's say that I want to, I don't know, we'll go ahead and bring in 2. Left click again, becomes solid, deselect. Now I have 3 sections that I can go ahead and manipulate without affecting the other parts of my cube. Okay. So now the next thing that is going to become one of your best friends while modeling, especially if you're modeling something that you want to have the same, I don't know, mirrored side of the object. So like for example, if you're working on a human or a spaceship or a gun or something, this next thing that I'm going to show you is very, very helpful, and it reduces your time by half at the very minimum, if not more, when modeling. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and take our loop cut that we already learned how to make, and press Control R, left click again, and leave it in the center. We're going to deselect it. Then down here, we're going to make sure that this little button is highlighted so it's got this grayish background instead of a dark background. And what it does is, if it's highlighted, you'll notice that we can actually see through our cube now. And when it's not, we can't. Okay. And what this does is it actually allows you to select vertices and faces on the opposite sides of your objects that you're working on, just because you can simply look through it. Okay, but what we're going to do is we're actually going to learn another tool, and I'm just going to call it the selection tool. If that's the actual name, awesome. If not, oh well. But if you press B, you'll notice that you get this kind of crosshair or cropping tool effect with your mouse. Okay. And then if you click and drag, you can go ahead and select stuff, and it likes to select vertices. Okay. But you'll notice now that this entire facing is selected. Now, if this little tool right here, the limit selection tool, was not highlighted, and I did that again by pressing B and selecting the left side, it went ahead and grabbed this, but you'll notice that it didn't grab anything else. Okay, so we'll deselect, go back to front, and then turn it on again, and we're going to go ahead and press B, select these vertices, and make sure that it's the left facing. And now what we're going to do is we're going to press X, and you'll notice that we get this whole menu up. Okay, well, the reason why you get a menu instead of just a simple delete option like in my previous tutorial is because it's asking us if we want to delete just the vertices or the edges or an entire face and so on. Okay, what we want is we want to delete the let's see, where is it? We'll go with faces. No, that's the wrong one. Sorry. Delete vertices. There we go. Okay, so as you can see, after choosing to delete the vertices, it literally cut our cube in half. And now you might be asking, well, why did you do that if we want to model something on the opposite side and have it affect both? Well, the reason why we did that is because you're going to learn how to use a simple modifier. Okay, and what that modifier is it's called the mirror modifier. So over here on our properties panel, you have this little wrench, and that stands for the object modifier. So if we go into here and we add a modifier, you get this huge list. Okay, well, the one that we want is going to be right here, and it says mirror. So if we click on that, you'll notice that we have the other half of our cube back. But here's the kicker. If I go ahead and select this, if it'll let me, that's odd. Alright, so I'm going to turn on clipping, and then allow me to see the vertices over here. Okay, and so, oh, that's why. I was still in face mode. Okay, but so even though it looks like we have the left half of our cube back, it's actually just a mirrored representation of our right side. Okay, and this is really good if you're modeling something like a human or a spaceship like I was saying before. Okay, now if, let's just say that I didn't turn these on. Okay, now this one up here, it just allows you to see the vertices over here as if it was a real half, just like the right hand side of our cube, and it's a personal preference. But as you can see, I unchecked clipping again, and if I go ahead and grab this vertice again and bring it in, you'll notice that it kind of goes through and starts acting funny. Now, I don't want that, so I'm going to go ahead and turn clipping on, and for personal preference, pull up the vertices again. But now that clipping is checked, if I grab this top vertice and bring it down, you'll notice that it's not going anywhere. Okay, and that's exactly what we want. Alright, so now that we have that, we can now see everything that's going on. We can move stuff around, and it doesn't really affect each other. Okay, so that's one thing that is a very nice tool, very helpful, and all around one of the most powerful things you're going to be using. Okay, now just for boredom's sake, I'm going to leave it like that. It kind of looks like an incomplete chevron. But so let's say that we're going to go ahead and use our loop cut tool again. I'm going to bring it in, and I actually want to bring it down to about here. And I'm going to do it one more time, which I could have just rotated or scrolled my mouse wheel up to once and gotten 2. I'm going to go ahead and bring another one down. And then we're going to do this actually again, so I'll just create 2. Leave them there, and then I'm going to actually press, while these are still highlighted, I'm going to press S to scale and then Z, so it only works on the Z axis. And you'll notice that they get thinner. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and bring this up. I'm going to do this a couple more times. Okay, and you will see that it is now doing this around our entire object. Okay, and that is again what we want. And just for my camera's sake, let's get out of edit mode, select these guys, delete them. Whoa! Not everything, just these 2. Okay, Shift C, there we go. Now I can look around my object happily. Alright, so back into edit mode. And now, I'm really not trying to make anything specific with this tutorial. All I'm doing is giving you a couple tips and tricks of how to actually manipulate your objects so you can start making stuff. And this isn't a very technical tutorial, it's just the basics. Okay. For more technicalities on stuff, we're going to be learning that in the second series of making a video game, because that's where the complexity is really going to start. Okay. So if I'm boring you, or if you already know this stuff, go ahead and skip this, and I will see you in the second series. If not, please continue watching or following along. Okay, so back to front view, and I'm actually going to come down here and go to face mode, because I was currently in vertice, but face mode allows me to select different faces. Okay, and the reason why, even though I'm selecting on this side and it's highlighting this side as well, is because we're using the mirror modifier over here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and choose this one, this one, this one. And the way that you highlight multiple objects at once, or faces or vertices, is by holding down the Shift key. Okay, so still holding down the Shift key, gonna keep clicking on these guys, come around. Okay, so now I have all of these bands selected. Now the second thing that we are going to learn is how to use the extrude tool. Okay, and the extrude tool basically allows you to say, let me deselect that for a minute. I'm just going to select this face right here, and if I use the extrude tool, which is the E button on your keyboard, tap that, I can now push this out. So I can add an extension or whatever, okay, or I can push it in. Alright. However, I'm going to go ahead and do that with all of these 3 bands. So I'm going to press E, and you'll notice that it looks kind of funky. Well, that's okay. I'm just going to right-click and release. And now that I have done my extrude tool, even though it looks like it went back to normal, it actually didn't. There's a second set of faces and vertices on these highlighted bands now because of that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take the scale tool that we learned in the previous tutorial and use it on all 3 of these. So I'm going to press S and now scale it. Okay. Now it still looks kind of funny because they're kind of branching out in their own ways, but that's okay. This is, as far as I'm concerned, it's going to be abstract art. Okay, but front view, and now I'm going to use this top bar as my primary focus. I'm going to press G, hit Z, and bring it down until it's roughly flush. Alright, and then I'll do that with this and this. Grab and Z, bring it up. Actually leave that one there. And then I'm going to do the same with these back ones. Grab and Z, bring it up. Okay. And so now with this, I'm going to select all of these. And I'm really just playing around, but I'm doing this to show you guys the basics of modeling. Okay, so now I've got the main body highlighted. And what I'm going to do is actually press extrude again, except this time I'm not going to pull it out, I'm actually going to push it in. Okay. And now you'll notice that we have a slightly mechanical looking deal going on down here at the bottom, which is actually kind of cool. Okay. Now, the next thing that you're going to learn is called the inset tool, I believe. Don't quote me on that. That's just what I believe it is, alright? And to use that is the I key on your keyboard. And it works very similarly to the scale tool. Alright, so if we press I on our keyboard, and now we just bring it in, or we can't really bring it out, so it's kind of just to push something in to add an extra set of faces. Alright, but now let's go ahead and select these guys, and I'm going to press G to grab and then Y for our Y-axis and kind of pull it in just a little bit, and then I'm going to press I again, add another inset, grab and Y, and bring this, yeah, one thing about the inset tool is after you create the inner facing on whatever it is that you use it on, it still has the outer rim selected, so you have to deselect and then select the inner face. And so now we're going to go ahead, grab and Y, and bring it back out. And then extrude. Then extrude again and right click, scale it down. Extrude. Actually, hold on. Go ahead and undo that extrude. Alright, so we're going to go to extrude again, bring it in just a little bit. Now we've kind of got a really weird mechanical face, I guess kind of like the Decepticons from Transformers, you know? But this is really just to mess around. Okay, so let's see. So we've covered scale, grab, rotate, the mirror modifier, extrude. Okay, so the next thing that you're going to learn, this is going to be one of the last things for this tutorial because I'm sure I'm making you very bored, is how to select an entire ring of vertices or lines. Okay, and the way that you do that is, I believe, if you hold down the Alt key on your keyboard, then select, just like one of the lines or vertices, it'll select everything in that rim. Okay, or if we come up here and do that, it'll select the entire top facing right here. Alright, and so now, since I went ahead and selected that, I'm actually going to go ahead and select the inner one. I'm going to just go ahead and press S, scale it out, and kind of deform it a little bit. Okay. So now he's got some really weird looking eyebrows. Okay. But those are some of the basics just for manipulating objects. Okay. And again with the extrude tool, you just press E, bring it out. Other side's on this side. Press E again, bring it out, scale it down, or you can grab it, you can rotate it. And let's go ahead and rotate on the Y-axis. We're going to go ahead and add extrude again, bring it down on the Z-axis, rotate along the Y again, scale it up. Okay, that's just the basic tools that we're going to start using in the actual game design series that I'm going to start after this. And so, other than that, I apologize for being boring on this one, but if you're nice, please subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you guys in my next series on how to make video games. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.